Paris-Dakar 1981, Porsche's first official entry in the rally. When you talk about Porsche and Dakar, you immediately think of Jackie Ickx and 1984, the 911 in Rothman's livery, and René Metier taking the victory ahead of its teammate. What's less well known is that the parent company had already participated in the rally through its importer in France, Sonauto, 3 years earlier. And yes, in 1981, for the third edition of the Dakar, there were already official Porsches in the race. Let's look back at this adventure. After the considerable success of the first Oasis Paris-Dakar rally, Sonauto, the exclusive Porsche importer in France at the time, considered entering a Porsche for the second edition in January 1980. However, decided in haste, the project was abandoned, even though a Porsche 924 Safari already appeared among the potential participants on some preliminary lists. Everything was therefore postponed to the following year, January 1981, with the goal of entering not one, but 2 cars of the brand in the event. In the spring of 1980, Jürgen Barth decided to supply Sonauto with 2 factory cars. His choice then fell on the 924, the only car in the range capable in Dr. Furman's eyes of crossing dunes, wadis, and withstanding African tracks thanks to a front-rear weight distribution much more favorable than the 2-wheel drive 911 of the time. And then, in 1979, Porsche had already entered 2 924s in the Kenya Rally for Jürgen Barth, with Roland Kussmaul already, and Alex Janda Helmuth Ristel, with admittedly 2 retirements, but the 924 was in full development. During the summer of 1980, Stuttgart delivered 2 new 924s to Paris, tasking Sonauto with preparing them, drawing on their experience from 2 years of participation with Yamaha, another brand distributed by Sonauto, and finding sponsors to enter them. Both cars were registered in France on September 2, 1980. The 2 cars were prepared during the autumn in Louis Mesnery's workshops in Coudray-Monceau, with the blessing of Michel Gauvain, who at the time worked at Sonauto as head of PR and motorsport. For this project, Mesnery will primarily rely on feedback from the Kenyan Rally, without being able to conduct any specific Dakar tests beforehand. During the Kenyan Rally, the cars used a standard engine which proved very reliable but not powerful enough. Therefore, the engines will undergo specific modifications aimed mainly at increasing power, 147 horsepower, improving low-end torque, and enabling them to handle the poor quality fuel used in Africa. However, the cars encountered numerous and significant other problems during the Kenya Rally, which helped to clarify the preparations for the Dakar Rally cars. Barth retired due to a transmission failure, so for the Dakar, the standard gearbox will be retained, but the rear axle will be fitted with a limited slip differential. In Kenya, both cars repeatedly suffered shock absorber failures due to the oil expanding in the heat, causing them to burst. For the Dakar, this issue will also be addressed with the installation of special wishbones and suspension arms from the 924 Carrera GT, coupled with specific Bilstein shock absorbers. Another problem in Kenya was that the wider wheels, fitted with special tires, were hitting the inside of the wheel wells and eventually completely deforming the chassis. It finally cracked, and Barth himself welded it back together, while Kussmaul sprayed everything with water. For the Dakar Rally, a second subframe was built using steel tubing to completely stiffen the car. This second subframe also served as a one-piece aluminum underbody protection, running from front to rear, creating a veritable ski protecting the engine, transmission, and transaxle. For added safety, A second wheel arch was also fabricated to reinforce the first. All welds were also redone. The entire assembly was then further stiffened by the installation of an aluminum roll cage, the same type used on Carrera GT race cars. Of course, the Porsche's range is multiplied by the addition of extra fuel tanks at the rear, increasing the capacity to 182 liters. Car number 129, type 92410XK, serial number 92A418952, registration number 9104JA92, will be driven by Guy Chassouy, official Porsche BP France driver, circuit and rally, and co-driven by Olivier Gauvain, son of Michel Gauvain. BP and Infotech are the main sponsors of both cars. At the time, Guy Chassouy boasted an enormous and impressive racing record, with multiple participations at Le Mans, the 24 Hours of Spa, the first French driver to win it, and countless rally entries, including in Morocco and Ivory Coast, in various cars, and sometimes with a certain Jean Tott as his co-driver. The second car, number 130, registration number 4400, JJ92, was entrusted to André Costa, then editor-in-chief of Auto Journal, and Jean-Dominique Gandril, his nephew, with whom he had already shared some automotive adventures. To support the two cars, a Pinzgauer 6x6 712K, the K stands for Kommandantur panel van version, was entered with numerous spare parts and was driven by Michel Gauvain himself and Ivan Speraventi, a mechanic from Sonato Sorgis Avignon, who joined the project late in the process. He was indeed called upon by Michel Gauvain, who, seeing the accumulated delays, asked him on December 10th to join them to finalize the preparations. Ivan remembers working between 16 and 18 hours a day to finish on time, not counting the delays in the delivery of the various parts. He even confessed to me that the very last preparations. Well, the rally's start is promising. Indeed, during the two prologues, Chassé made a strong showing with a fifth fastest time in Olivet and a third in Les Garrigues. As a result, in set, before tackling the African stages, the number 129 Porsche is third overall. Costa's car is a little further back, 46th, but in the very muddy Olivet stage, the number 130 suffered a wiper failure, resulting in very poor visibility and a loss of time. Not a big deal, as the stated goal was to maintain a good position and let Chassouy, given his talent, be at the front. However, the team faced a major problem. The Pinzgauer, prepared in Pont de Vaux, encountered some issues. During the prologue in Olivet, while taking a pothole a little too hard, Michel Gauvain hit his head on the roof and bounced back in his seat. It must be said that the crew cannot tighten their harnesses. Otherwise, they can't reach the steering wheel. This knocked the wind out of him, and he suffered severe back pain. The team is worried about the rest of the race, and rightly so. In Nîmes, during the Garrigues special stage, the 6x6 skidded and ended up in a mud puddle. Luckily, there wasn't too much damage. The driver's window did shatter, though, but overloaded with a heavy roof rack, it tipped over. In fact, Yvonne and Michel only discovered this pins 2 days before leaving. Most of the parts were already packed in closed crates and loaded into the vehicle and onto the roof rack, plus complete wheels on the roof. They still had to add tools and other parts, clutches, gearboxes, wheels. The car's balance is uncontrollable, hence the mishap during the prologue. The first real African stage will definitively seal the fate of the Porsches. Despite once again achieving 3rd and 8th place in Maujbara Messiad, the first real short special stage, The Porsches will very quickly encounter major problems with their shock absorbers, which break on the corrugated metal due to the vibrations generated and their poor mounting, following all the modifications made to the car. To make matters worse, Chasui even blew his engine trying to get out of a sandbank. That was it for the number 129 Porsche on this first stage, before even reaching the crossroads. Costa Gandri's car fared a little better and managed to finish this first stage in 105th place, but arrived at the bivouac very late, well after midnight. After getting stuck in the sand and then remaining trapped for a long time in the fesh. The next day, there was only one Porsche 924 left in the race, and it too had suffered considerable suspension damage. Even though its engine was running superbly and had allowed it to achieve some impressive performances on the less challenging sections. Unfortunately, in Chamonix-Necker, the terrain proved just as challenging. Very quickly, the crew encountered the same problems with the shock absorbers, which broke one after another. Faced with the significant delays they had accumulated, Michel Gauvin and André Costa decided to end their adventure there and return home with the car, without risking having to abandon it further in the rally. The first Algerian stages had thus decimated the Sonalto BP team, and the team would abandon the Dakar rally on January 6, 1981. Car number 129 was towed behind the Pinzgauer, while car number 130 was able to return on its own, but with caution. The story of these two Porsche 924s does not end there, since after their return to Levallois, the two 924s will be dismantled and reconditioned to new condition, taking into account the failure of the Dakar. The director of Porsche France at the time, Mr. Daniel Vauvier, will sell them a few months after the Dakar to the famous rally driver Robert Neyret, who, for the Bandama Ivory Coast Rally, is looking to enter several vehicles in his team. In the meantime, the 129 had appeared furtively on the Saint-Maximin Brignoles Var sliding circuit in the spring of '81 with a guest driver, Jean-Pierre Nicolas, through his company, Automotive. Bob Neyret will therefore acquire these 924s to entrust them to two crews he knows well. The first car, X130 of Costa Gandril, will be given to one of his driver girls, Marianne Hopfner, several times French rally champion, who for the occasion will be co-driven by Biche, Jean-Claude Andrew's usual rally co-driver. The second car will be reserved for Marianne's partner, the actor and motorsport enthusiast Jean-Louis Trintignant. He will be entrusted with the former 129 of Chasui Gauvin and will be accompanied by Jacques Delaval for this 1981 Bandama rally. Bob will drive an A310 V6, still with his trusty Terror, and his son Stéphane will be at the wheel of a Mitsubishi Colt Lancer with Antoine Marnis. All four cars will sport the colors of the Gitane Cigarette Company and will therefore feature a blue livery in the colors of the famous cigarettes. All four cars will have to retire for various reasons. A timing belt failure for the girls' 924 very early in the rally, and a fuel shortage for the Alpine and the Mitsubishi. As for the Trintignant Delaval 924, they broke an engine mount, which led to a perforation of the front radiator during the second stage. After having achieved very good performance, thanks to handling particularly well-suited to African tracks, very neutral and balanced, jumping bumps, flat, while awaiting their return to France by cargo ship, all the rally cars were gathered for a few days within the Abidjan commercial port. There, a mysterious fire damaged or destroyed several racing cars, including Marianne Hopfner's, which burned completely. Back in France, the former 129 was sold in June 1982 by Bob Neyret to a rallycross driver from Clermont-Ferrand, Pierre Merle. Merle competed in a few races with the car, but it proved uncompetitive compared to the buggies and other super lightweight, overpowered prototypes permitted by the regulations of the time. He then contented himself with using his 924, still in its navy blue Gitanes livery, for shows, demonstrations, and other promotional events in supermarkets. 4 years later, in June 1986, Jacques Delaval bought the car from him to add to his small personal collection of Porsche 911s, with the intention of restoring it to its original 1981 Paris-Dakar condition. In 1987, he had the car completely disassembled by a Porsche specialist in Lyon with the aim of beginning its restoration. Various personal and professional reasons prevented him from completing this project. So, after 30 years of dry storage, he sold this unique car in 2017 to a friend, a renowned classic car specialist based near Romans.